Okay, when you hear the name Plato, what comes to mind? Probably reason, logic, the very foundation of Western thought. And look, for 2,000 years, you would have been totally right. But what if the guy who taught us how to think also gave us the blueprint for a system designed to stop us from thinking, period? That, right there, is the Plato Paradox. And it's this wild contradiction that has, believe it or not, shaped our world. So this is the Plato we all learn about in school, the legend. He was Socrates' star student, and way back in 387 BC, he founded his academy. Now, this wasn't just some school. I mean, for an incredible 900 years, think about that for a second. It was the intellectual center of the Western world. This is Plato the Titan, right? The father of reason. But then you get a guy like Friedrich Nietzsche, who comes along and drops a bombshell quote like this one. Christianity is Platonism for the people. Whoa. Okay, suddenly we're not talking about pure logical reason anymore, are we? That sounds a lot more like a recipe for mass belief, for dogma. It just completely shatters that clean, simple image of Plato and hints at a much, much darker side to his legacy. All right, so to really get our heads around this paradox, we've got to start with the man they built the statues of. Let's meet Plato the hero, the champion of pure reason. And really, there's no better place to start than with his most famous idea. I'm sure you've heard of it, the allegory of the cave. It's so much more than just a story. It's this incredibly powerful metaphor for that painful, blinding journey out of the darkness of ignorance and into the light of real truth. So picture this, right? You've got these prisoners who've been chained up in a cave their entire lives. All they can see are shadows flickering on a wall in front of them. For them, that's it. Those shadows are reality. Then, one of them gets dragged out of the cave into the blinding sunlight. At first, it's just painful, totally confusing. But then, his eyes adjust, and he sees the real world for the very first time. But, and this is the kicker, when he goes back down to try and free the others, what do? They laugh at him, they think he's gone mad, they'd rather just stick with the familiar shadows. And that story right there is basically rationalism in a nutshell. It's this core idea that what our senses tell us, the shadows on the wall, can't really be trusted. Plato argued that true knowledge, the real stuff, only comes from our intellect, from our ability to reason. It's about grasping the perfect idea or form of something, not just the flawed, physical copy we happen to see. Okay, but here comes the twist. What if the same man who gave us this incredible story about escaping a prison also left us the detailed instructions for building a brand new one? A perfect one. This is where the other side of the story begins, and honestly, it's pretty devastating. So let's fast forward a couple thousand years to the 20th century. You've got totalitarianism on the rise across Europe, and this philosopher, Karl Popper, he looks all the way back to Plato, and he sees something absolutely terrifying. He doesn't see a champion of freedom at all. No, he sees the original architect of the authoritarian state. Popper lays this all out in his massive book, The Open Society and Its Enemies. And his main point is this. Plato's famous work, The Republic, it's not some lofty, idealistic dream. Popper argues it's a chillingly practical blueprint for a totalitarian regime. A state whose number one goal is to stop change, to free society exactly as it is, forever.
Now, to really get what Popper is saying, you have to understand these two terms he came up with. On one hand, you have the open society. It thrives on freedom, on criticism, on being able to adapt and change. But on the other hand, you have the closed society. And that one, it demands total conformity. The group is all that matters. The individual is basically nothing, and the whole system is rigid, static. And Popper's big claim was that Plato's The Republic was the ultimate blueprint for a closed society.
And when you actually look at what Plato wrote, the evidence is, well, it's pretty damning. His ideal state is definitely not a democracy. You've got this tiny elite class of philosopher kings who have all the power. Art and music? Heavily censored. Got to stamp out any dangerous ideas. The state even gets to control who has kids and how they're raised. And everyone is locked into a strict social hierarchy from the moment they're born. I mean, this isn't an open society, it's a cage, perfectly engineered for total control. So, how in the world do we reconcile these two Platos? The guy who wanted to liberate our minds, and the guy who designed a system of total control? Well, the answer, it seems, lies in what happened to his ideas long after he was gone. And this really gets us to the heart of the paradox, right? How does a philosophy that's all about questioning everything
somehow become the intellectual foundation for systems built on absolute, unquestionable faith? It's a heck of a question, and the answer is a pretty wild historical journey. The key, it turns out, is a movement called Neoplatonism. This pops up about 600 years after Plato's time. You get these thinkers, like a guy named Plotinus, who take Plato's original ideas and just supercharge them. They really zeroed in on the idea of a single, perfect, divine source they called the One. A good way to think about it is like a sun. The One is the sun, and our messy, physical world is just the faint light and warmth that manages to reach us from it. So this timeline really shows you the incredible journey these ideas went on. You start with Plato's Academy. Centuries later, his ideas get picked up and kind of remixed by Neoplatonists like Plotinus. And then, and this is a huge moment, a theological giant, St. Augustine, comes along and masterfully fuses these Neoplatonic ideas right into the core of early Christian doctrine. All of a sudden, Christianity has this incredibly powerful philosophical backbone. And from there, this new, remixed version of Plato's philosophy just spread like wildfire. It became the philosophical engine for major thinkers in Christianity, Islam, and Judaism for centuries to come. And this wasn't just some dusty academic thing. It fundamentally shaped how millions upon millions of people understood God, the soul, and their very place in the universe. So now, let's circle all the way back to that Nietzsche quote, because now it makes perfect sense, doesn't it? That original Platonic idea of a perfect, eternal, unseen world, the world of forms, well, that becomes the perfect philosophical justification for the concept of heaven. The idea that we have an immortal soul that's trying to get back to some higher, better reality, that is pure Platonism, just packaged up for the people. Which brings us right back to where we started, with this deep, fascinating paradox sitting right at the heart of Western philosophy. So you really have these two faces of Plato, side by side. On one side, you've got the liberator, the guy who gave us the allegory of the cave, this timeless story encouraging us to seek the truth. And on the other side, you've got the controller, the guy who designed the Republic, a society so perfect and stable that it could only work by sacrificing every last bit of individual freedom. And this is really the main takeaway. Plato's legacy isn't one or the other. It's the constant tension between the two. His philosophy holds both the explosive power for liberation and the chilling blueprint for control. He taught us how to break free from the cave, but he also maybe taught us how to build a new one that's even harder to escape. And that leaves us with a question that has echoed down through the centuries and is just as relevant today. As we try to build a better society, which Plato do we listen to? The one who tells us to question everything, to challenge authority, to break our chains? Or the one who whispers that real security, real harmony can only come from a perfectly ordered, top-down system of control? You know, this isn't just some ancient philosophical debate. It's a choice we're all still making every single day.